Hello and welcome to Success is Never Accidental. I'm Lynne Peyton, and this is the show where we get to explore all the factors that contribute to success, and I get to interview some highly successful people. My guest today is a long-term colleague for many, many years, and she's one of those amazing people who just seems to manage to successfully juggle a busy career with raising her family and then still finds loads of ways to give back and to add value. She's Chief Executive of Daughters of Charity Children and Family Service, a Dublin-based organisation serving children and families in need in Ireland. She's an accomplished speaker and author, and she sits on not one but two editorial boards of relevant journals. She's a PhD in childhood studies, and she's currently completing an Executive MBA. So please help me welcome my friend and colleague, Dr. Tracey Monson. Hi, Tracey. Thank you so much for joining us on Success is Never Accidental. How are you today?
Great, Lynn. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about my leadership journey.
Well, you have achieved so much. Our listeners will be so interested, Tracey. As I said in the introduction, you managed to juggle so many things and then find something else to do. So tell me this, having finished your PhD a number of years back, why are you doing an MBA now?
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting question. I suppose for me, what's important for me is continued professional development. So I suppose my view is that in order for me to be able to add value and to continue to do that, I need to ensure that I am as up to date with everything that I possibly can. So I suppose that's always been a drive of mine, is to continue to learn and to grow so that I can give back as much as possible. So what was interesting about doing the MBA, it wasn't something that I'd ever really considered in a lot of detail, but I suppose all of my academic qualifications and training were really in my core area in terms of that specialism of working with children and families. So my PhDs in childhood studies, I had a master's in social justice and equality. So I suppose what I had identified, particularly post-COVID, and I suppose leading through disruption, was one of the things that really, I suppose, was like almost like a crucible of leadership, in terms of I felt that I needed more in terms of the business acumen. So what were the things that we needed as an organization in Daughters of Charity Child and Family Services? So we need to operate like a business. We are a charity, but we also need to operate like a business. So things like marketing, PR, finance, innovation, tech, all those cutting edge thinking, I just didn't feel I had I suppose the capability or the training in it. So in order for me to be able to lead the organization, that's where I felt I needed to position my next focus on learning. And that's why I suppose I just finished the MBA, and it's been a very rewarding journey.
That is so fascinating, because when people think of the community and voluntary sector, they don't necessarily see it as a business. They see it very much as helping, reaching out, empowering communities. But if you don't run it like a business, Tracey, you don't position yourself to get the opportunities, the funding, and you don't stay relevant.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
So great that you did that MBA, because no matter what we do, I think sometimes we even need to run our own life a bit like a business in order to stay on top of things. But looking back at the course, what would you say were one or two of the key things that really resonated with you and that you're bringing into your CEO practice?
Yeah, great, Lynn. Actually, every single thing that I did in that course, I've brought back. So we're in the process of developing our strategy. So we did a lot of modules on strategy development in terms of positioning. So we're doing all of that background work ourselves in terms of Porter, all the theories around our competitive analysis, our market position, all of those key things, our strategic positioning. So strategy is one of the things. The other thing that we did a lot of work on was our leadership. So it was a fantastic course in that you have a leadership program throughout the 2 years. So that's really around looking at your own leadership journey, but things like how you influence and things about networking. And I know that's one of your, I suppose, key areas is around identifying your network. Who are the people that you can utilize to ensure that you can add value? And likewise, so that's a reciprocal relationship. I mean, the other thing was like evidence-based HR. So like when we're saying things or when we're looking to recruit people, where's the evidence for it? So bringing in an evidence base, which we've already done in terms of our work with Trinity over the past 12 years around our services, but it's wider than that. It's around evidence for everything that you do across the organization. And that was also very, very helpful. So every aspect of it, I suppose, has really directly impacted on the organization.
And you mentioned networking there, Tracey. Why is it so critical to have contacts in key agencies and across different sectors?
Yeah. Networking, I think, so that I suppose the way I would look at it is there's two aspects to networking. There's your external network and there's your internal network. And your internal network, sometimes you can neglect in the focus of looking for your external and who can you connect with in the sector or outside of the sector. So I suppose what really has worked so well over the past number of years is being able to identify the difference. So looking at really developing a network internally, ensuring that everyone is on the same page in terms of the vision, the mission, and the values, and bringing people with you. Having that kind of person that you connect with when you're out in the centres. So that's important. Externally, I suppose, in terms of the strategic influence, it's being able then to identify who are the people that I need to connect with so that I can drive the purpose of the organization and ensure that it continues to add value for the service users. So part of what we did as the MBA was we did a network analysis, a social network analysis, which was really helpful to give us a sense of who were the people we usually went to all the time. Sometimes it's just a habit or you get on with somebody, but then it was looking at it in a different way in terms of, well, how am I utilizing their professional skill and experience to add value? Do I need to connect with somebody else? So if I keep exhausting the same person around one particular thing, do I need to move to somebody else and look at if I can just, expand that network out and abroad? And then it's around, I suppose, how I can add value in that network. So connect back. And that's been really, really important, I think.
So I think two really important points there. Networking is about giving back as well as asking for help. But isn't it interesting? If you keep going to the same people, you know what they're going to tell you. Whereas if you expand your network and you ask different people, you get a different perspective. And then that makes us think and maybe do something a bit different next time round. But what you said is in your network, you need to think about who do I go to? Who else can I go to? And what is it I go to people for? And then how can I give back? So those are all fascinating questions. You said you had to pivot and learn so much whenever you had to manage the reality of COVID. What was the reality for you as a community-based agency serving people in the community who were already, if you like, very much in need, and then they had COVID to cope with on top? What did you have to do organizationally to continue to run services in that environment?
Yeah. And when we think back to COVID, it's hard to think that actually happened. It just seems like a distant memory. I suppose it was really one of those situations where all bets were off. You just had to get on with it. So we were learning as we went along. What was fantastic about the organization was we had just approved an IT roadmap and investment. So we had all moved onto Microsoft Office and Teams. Thank God for that, because I don't know what we would have done otherwise. Yeah. Thankfully, because it was so difficult. And you and I would have connected during COVID as well, Lynne, and you were always of great support and help. in terms of just helping me to navigate that, because it was really, really challenging. So we were able to move services online for a period of time. I think the core thing was, while the service users were always front and center, we also had to ensure that our staff were front and center at all times. And I think what was important for all of us, I suppose, on the leadership team, was just to be, I suppose, to be authentic and vulnerable almost, in terms of, we don't know what's going on here. We're doing our best. We're navigating it. It's difficult. So humor and, you know, lots of different things really helped us to get through. I think one of the fantastic things about COVID, which I would hope to see will continue, it's, you know, waned a little bit, but, you know, we'll try and work on it, is just a partnership between the community and voluntary sector and the public sector, and networking, and everyone working together so well, because everyone had that purpose, that end goal, that purpose, that laser focus on, we all just need to continue to support those most in need. So we've kind of drifted back a little bit back into our old ways of working, but we achieved so much together. So we need to make sure we continue to do that.
And that partnership is so, so critical. And I think the one thing that came out of COVID was that people were so resilient. You know, the communities we serve, the staff that work with us, and our partners across different agencies. But pulling together was the critical piece of that, Tracey, that actually made it work. And I think we learned, as you say, to be vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable and you can learn to ask great questions, what are other people doing? What else can we do? What have we not tried? It was a very exploratory time where we kind of learned to think outside our comfort zone and to do things very differently. If anybody lives on purpose, it's you. So tell me a little bit about, what is your purpose? What drives you to stay in the community and voluntary sector? Because you would have opportunities elsewhere. What is it that makes you so passionate about the work you do in that sector?
Yeah, so I suppose, look, I've always been involved in the community and voluntary sector. So I suppose my journey into this line of work began with me volunteering in Childline for 2 years in my early 20s. So I suppose it was based on that, really, that I was able to identify the huge strength of the community and voluntary sector. So the community and voluntary sector was there when we had no public services in Ireland. You know, we would have set up services in terms of the sector. I think over the past 22, 23 years working in the sector, what I just love about it is its ability to innovate quite quickly, to go where there is an unmet need quite quickly, to be able to be embedded in communities. And also the people that we have working with us are there. I mean, you know, we're not in it to make a profit. People don't work in the community and voluntary sector to make loads of money, but they're there because they want to make a difference. And when you're working with people like that, I mean, it's just not a job then. It's just so fulfilling and so rewarding. So over the past 23 years, I've really seen how the community and voluntary sector has really transformed society in Ireland. And it's just everywhere. It's in every element of society. It's in housing, it's in, you know, addiction, it's in therapy, it's everywhere. So it just permeates Irish society everywhere. And I think also what's happened so well is just this increased partnership, working relationship with the state, which is getting better. So it's not like we're working on our own, we're really working in partnership. And I think that's something that we definitely need to continue into the future moving forward. Obviously paying conditions are an ongoing issue. So, you know, making sure that equality of pay for those doing work on behalf of the state is critical. But it's just, I suppose, the vibrancy, the innovation, and just the people that we have working in the sector is just transformational, to be honest.
And I love that word transformational, Tracey, because so many interactions are transactional, but it's those transformational relationships and activities that fill people up and make them feel really fulfilled. This show is all about that success is never accidental. There's a formula for success. There's factors that contribute to success. So already you've mentioned a lot of those, Tracey. You've talked about staying relevant. You've talked about the importance of innovation and keeping up and, doing different things. You've talked about partnerships. What else would you think are factors that are necessary to succeed, not just in an agency like yours, but in 2024 and beyond?
Yeah, I think being open to feedback is critical. Being open to hearing what you are doing well, what you need to do better, and how you can improve on that. And I think that I suppose it's not something that happens overnight. You come to a place in your career where, you're able to know when you can't do it all, when you need to ask for help. I think having strong, committed, resilient people around you is critical. I think for me as a leader, I suppose I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the skills. I hopefully have surrounded myself with people that I feel can complement what I can bring, so that in the round we have the capabilities and I suppose the competencies to be able to deliver what we need for the organization. And I do think it's really around being able to acknowledge that you don't have all the answers. You don't have everything, that you can't, but there's people that do. And it's knowing when to bring those people in, and also being able to develop those people so that you have that, I suppose, succession piece into the future as well. So I suppose they're important. I think planning, you got to plan, you've got to manage your diary. I think putting value on your own work is critical, because sometimes we can get so busy doing everything else that our own work or our own focus, so spending time on strategy, spending time going out networking, spending time, in your own professional development, so you can ensure you're adding value all the time. They're critical. So prioritizing what you need to do to add value is important.
So it must be really easy to get distracted as a CEO when you have projects all over the country. It must be easy to get distracted by the day-to-day drama, things that come up. How do you stay focused on being the CEO and keeping your commitment to that strategy, planning, the higher level thinking? How do you avoid getting sucked in?
So it's taken, I suppose, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. I think what I've learned over time is I can only add value when I am at that higher level. So I can only add value to the organization when I have my eye on the future. So I suppose it's a bit like, you're skiing. You have to keep your eye on what's ahead, but you also need to be aware of what's coming behind you in terms of the avalanche. So you're constantly doing your 360 in terms of what could trip us up, what are the risks we need to be aware of. So I suppose what I really focused on over the past while is really looking at, even in terms of the groups that I'm on or the time that I'm giving to certain groups, am I the best person to be on those, or are those that I can delegate to somebody else so I can be on the ones of strategic influence? Those are the critical things. And once I think about, so if I've had difficult situations, what's a great grounding for me is the values of the organization. So is the work that we're doing in line with the values? Is the decision that we're going to make in line with the values? So it really is around, we're in the process of developing strategy. That's our end game. We're celebrating 40 years in operation. That's going to be a celebration at the end of the year. Those are the critical things for me to think ahead in terms of navigating into the future. And having a strong team around me is critical. So having the right people is important, because otherwise you will get pulled back into the day-to-day. So, as a CEO, I think one of the privileges is being able to select your leadership team. So having the right people around you, it's not alone, it's not a solo run. And having those people means that I can keep the focus on the long game, on the vision, and the strategic piece.
Such great advice, not just for senior managers like yourself, but for managers at all level, really, that it's really important that they ensure that their focus is on the right things, and that they are, I interviewed somebody once who said, I only do what only I can do. And I think that's very, very profound. Tracey, thank you for spending time with us today. If you had one thing that you would tell your younger self looking back, what would it be?
Gosh, that's a difficult one. I think be patient with yourself. I think to let everybody know, or to let myself know that it is a journey, that you need to be patient and you also need to be kind to yourself. You're not going to get everything right all the time, but it is around learning from it. So I suppose it's being open to that learning piece. So I suppose be kind and be patient with yourself is important.
Fantastic advice. I hope our paths cross again soon, my friend.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Thank you so
so much.
much, Lynn.
What an amazing session with Dr. Tracey Monson. So many insights there. It's hard to know where to start. But the things that struck me most from Tracey's interview was the need to stay relevant through ongoing exposure to education and personal development. The importance of running a not-for-profit agency like a business and ensuring the organisation is strategic, that it's evidence-based, that they market effectively, and that they work together in partnership with the statutory agencies and the state agencies. As a CEO, Tracey has had to demonstrate leadership, especially through tough times like COVID. And that has involved building a strong leadership team that complements her skills and styles. And she realizes that she can add the greatest value when she's doing higher level thinking, keeping her eye to the future and anticipating potential developments, but also potential risks. And then she leaves her team to get on as much as possible with the rest. When we asked her about why she was so passionate about the community and voluntary sector, she said it was because of the power it has to transform society by being innovative, by moving quickly, by thinking outside the box. And then when we look at what are the critical factors in success, Tracey identified those as staying relevant, being vulnerable, working in partnership, being able to feed your brain all the time by constantly learning and develop, asking people for help, asking different people for help so that you widen your network and you get different perspectives, looking after your people, building strong, resilient teams, and having humor. And when we asked her about what would she tell her younger self, I loved that advice. Be patient and also be kind to yourself. So on that note, what are you going to do this week to be kinder to yourself while still pushing forward and developing and succeeding and pushing out the boat? So remember, success is never accidental.